Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor, the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. We are recommending Spotify for both now, though, because it's a little bit quicker. You want us quicker, stream us on Spotify. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, 10 different channels, plus the stage shows, which we've brought back. And, of course, the draft channel is on there. So draft, transactions, like we compartmentalize everything for you. We know you're all over the place on Twitter. This makes it a whole lot easier. We bring everything interesting from Twitter onto there. So check it out. It's Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. Bypass the Apple upcharge, $2.99 per month. Also check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5 FIVE. Yeah, we're going to scrounge up some more money because here's the thing. I'm leading again. I pulled ahead of Greg in the last game. Alex and Brady, I can't even see them. They're so far back.
I'm coming for you in Game 7.
No chance. Use the code 5 FIVE. Put down your $5. You get $50 to play right away. Have as much fun as we are, or at least Greg and I are, not Alex and Brady are. Use the code 5 FIVE. Get your $50. Legal in the state of Florida. Play right away. And now, today's episode.
Mercy. Luxurious. Heat Nation. Yeah. Mercy and Lago. Down to Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars. Wearing bubble frogs. Down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's about have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me, Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow me at Greg Sylvander. We got Digital Adel. You can follow him at Digital Adel. So we continue to blend conversations here. Draft conversations with Kevin Durant and other transaction conversations. Alex and I just somehow did 26 minutes on Jonathan Kuminga. So if you want to hear that, that's there in the library. We're not going to talk about him today. I'm going to do something kind of similar to what I did with Brady, but we're going to, now that we're closer to the draft, we're going to fine tune this a little bit. So we're going to put 3 players out there. 2 are known. 1 is not known. I guess we could throw a 4th and a 5th in there if we wanted to get into Jaquez and Larson, but we'll start with 2 others. We've got 20-year-old Kel'el Ware. We've got 22-year-old Niko Jovic, and we've got the number 20 pick. And the question we're going to ask here is, if Ware and Jovic were in this draft right now, would they be more valuable than the number 20 pick, which is what the Heat own? Okay, so there is a little bit of nuance to this because, of course, Niko Jovic is due potentially an extension. Yeah. So contract does matter, right?
That's really important.
It's really important because right now Jovic is cheaper than Ware is, but that's not going to last very long. He's also cheaper than the number 20 pick would be based on the salary slot. But again, that's not going to last very long. There's also the fact that we have a little bit more evidence of what the other 2 guys can do at the professional level, even if Jovic is 2 seasons are more like 1, and Ware, obviously didn't start until a certain point of last year. So we're going to throw all this out there, and we're not going to do this in the context of what they'd be worth to the Suns in the trade. We're going to do what they would be worth to the Heat. Okay, I want to focus specifically on that. So I'll start with you, Adel. As you're zeroing in on who may be there at the number 20 pick, why don't we pick 3 or 4 names that we think could be there and that the Heat might have interest in, so at least we can let's do 3 names. Throw them in the mix with Ware and Jovic.
Okay. Can I supply one of the names?
Yes, sir.
You go ahead. Yes.
Jace Richardson.
Okay. Jace
Richardson.
Richardson, who of course is a guard from Michigan State. Jason Richardson's son, short. But I'll let you continue on it.
Well, that's kind of what you're going to get at pick 20, right? You're going to get guys that are going to have some deficiencies, but they're going to have, some upside, some possibilities that the Heat can work with. Jace Richardson, I have him 13th on my big board. I have a very hard time seeing him sliding that far, but he could. Nolan Troy is another one because he's another smallish guard, 6'4", 175 pounds, the best pick and roll passer in the draft, probably. He's been running a pro offense in France this entire season without a hiccup. And his shot form is steadily improving. And that was one of my biggest hangups was wasn't a very good 3-point shooter. That was a recurring theme throughout this draft with some of the smaller guards that couldn't shoot. Because a lot of the other guards that could shoot went back to college.
So let's make the third one, since we got two guards in here, and we're talking about two front court players. Let's make the third one a front court player. Because if you're trading Ware or Jovic, you may be looking, and you're not trading 20, although we think that they probably would be. But you would need, probably a young front court player to replace one of those two guys. So give me a front court name.
I'll give you two front court names because we gave you two guards just to make it even. I like even numbers. So Danny Wolf, if Danny Wolf is there, he's 7 foot tall, 250 pounds, handles like a guard. He'll rebound for you. He'll block some shots for you, and he facilitates.
And just got a green room invite.
And he got a green room invite. That's exactly right. He's a unique guy. To be 7 foot tall, 250, and to handle the ball the way he does, it's a unicorn-like phenomenon. He's not as skilled as some of the other phenomenons that big, but he's better than he's a better prospect, I'd say, than what a Kelly O was at that time, in my opinion. And then the other name is Thomas Sorber.
Yes.
Thomas Sorber has been a guy I've talked about on this channel for a very long time. He has a 7'6" wingspan, one of the biggest wingspans in the draft. He has the strongest hands in the draft. Great rebounder, shot blocker, reads the court very well. I think there's more facilitation chops that you're going to see out of that guy at the next level. And he's got a dog mentality. I mean, he is a ferocious competitor.
Okay. Greg, let's start here with what we know of Ware and Jovic, right, to this point. So from what we've seen, Kel'el Ware obviously has an athletic skill set for big. He's an above-the-rim player, vertical spacer, good shot blocker, though he leaves his feet a little bit too early on. Some work to do as far as positional defense, particularly physical defense. We saw that against Zubats and others. Again, these other players, we haven't gotten a chance to see them in these circumstances, but we do have a sample size. Has a shooting touch, although probably has extended the range a little bit too much at this point. May not be ready for some of the stuff that we thought he was ready for, but is better processor of information maybe than was said at the draft, with a little better motor than was forecast at the draft, although still work to be done in those areas. But overall, they were pleased with him. Then we go to Jovic. Clear basketball IQ in terms of the way he sees the floor. Very good in transition. Has proven to be a pretty good spot-up three-point shooter when those opportunities have presented themselves. Can handle, although you don't want him doing it all the time. Has had trouble, though, at times finding a specific role with this group, which may be as much their fault as his. Again, partly roster construction. Not a great rebounder. Needs some work there. Has shown some promise at that, but needs more work there. And then additionally, as far as, just defensively, probably better than was advertised coming in because of improvements these he made, but obviously some limitations there just in terms of his build, although, again, he's gotten a lot bigger, but the quickness on the perimeter to be able to play, say, the three may be a bit of a challenge. So that's what we're looking at right now. Am I right now, okay, right now, not 3 years from now, but right now, who has more value to the Heat, Ware or Jovic?
Oh, Kel'el Ware. There's no doubt. I mean, and it's just the upside play because, honestly, if Niko were in a different system offensively, he could maybe be as impactful as Ware, but I just think that with Miami and the slow pace that they play, and there's been no indication, but also no engine added that is going to change the way that they play offense right now. So to me, Niko is a harder fit on the team. So to me, Kel'el Ware has more long-term potential. Also, I think that until further notice, the Ware Adebayo minutes need further evaluation. They need more run together. So like those are all things that I think are more valuable to what Miami believes probably is the path to a contending like starting lineup. So yeah, it's Ware over Jovic, no doubt. And just to level set, and you mentioned it, and I'm glad you did, but I have to reiterate because it's so important. We're talking about these guys and their importance to Miami. A big piece of this is like Niko's extension. Any player who is about to get paid a lot more money is just inherently going to be worth less in the trade market than a draft pick like pick 20, who's coming in at a rookie salary, or Kel'el Ware, who's also on a rookie deal. So that's just, if we're talking reality and trades, and we're not doing that tonight, Jovic definitely has the least of the value on the trade market of the three.
But also to that point, it also has less value to your team, because if you're trying to stay under certain aprons and tax brackets, then the player who is not due the extension is worth more. I'll just say this though, in not defense of Jovic, because he doesn't need it, but sort of why I've been reluctant to include Jovic in some of these trades is because I think the upside play there is significant still for him. I just don't know that they're going to tap into it. I also think, and Adele, I'll go to you on this, I also think when we've seen, I understand the benefits of the Bam Ware combination of giving a taller player to Bam to play next to, and Bam has wanted that also. But I'll also say that we kind of characterize Jovic as the perfect fit next to Bam for a while, and it actually, to me, still looks cleaner than the Bam Ware combination up front. I know that the numbers, it kind of depends, but Jovic's numbers were brought down by the fact, honestly, that Terry Rozier was in that starting lineup when he was in it with him last year, and I think that was just completely unfair to him.
Catching strays.
Well, no, I just say, I mean, you can't look. That was the starting lineup when the season started, so Jovic was the guy who got pulled. But I don't know, because they had to put Highsmith in there to protect Rozier, and they wouldn't take Rozier out for a while. And Drew Smith got hurt when it looked like he was ascending, and they didn't have Mitchell yet. But I kind of feel like Niko got the short end of the stick on that, and then it was harder for him to find a role. Adele, do you think right now that if you were to put, I understand the upside play, but if you were to put Jovic next to Bam in the starting lineup, that is cleaner right now than Ware with Bam?
It's cleaner on the offensive end. On the defensive end is where the issues come in at, because Jovic also isn't very sturdy in terms of post defense. He's more of a outside type of big. So his lateral, his defensive IQ has gotten better. He takes a lot of very good angles now, where before he didn't. So it looked like he didn't have the foot speed to hang with guys on the perimeter, which wasn't really the case. It was more he was taking poor angles and wasn't using his length. Whenever you saw defensive improvements with Jovic, it was more him using his length and the proper angles, and so he was able to really hang on the perimeter. But you lose a lot of rebounding and a lot of toughness inside defensively if you're running Jovic alongside Bam. So offensively, the fit's cleaner.
Ethan, can I sneak in a question here for you?
Yes.
If somehow Durant ends up in Miami and Niko nor Ware are included in the deal,
yes.
What do you think is the more likely starting lineup? Ware,
Jovic.
Bam, and Durant, or
Jovic.
Bam, Jovic, and Durant?
Jovic.
Okay.
Jovic. And I think that because I just struggle to see, and I know someone going to come at me, and Sean has already, and say how they would guard, and the Bam's going to guard on the perimeter anyway. I know where this is going, but KD has not played. I'm sorry, I'm going to use a number here. Has not played the 3 since 17-18. He has not played the 3 in 7 seasons. Like, just go to Basketball Reference. I know they're imperfect, okay? But go there. He's played more center than he's played 3 over the past 3 years. More center than he's played 3. I just, when guys get older, Shane Battier always talked about this, and it happened with him too, by the way, because he started his career as a 3-2, and he ended up as a 4, okay, in Miami.
Guarding up.
Guarding up. Guys guard up because they lose quickness, and so they guard up. And I do not think KD can be a 4 consistently in any system at this stage. Excuse me, a 3 consistently in any system at this stage. He came in the league as a 2, by the way. As a 2. Now that was kind of crazy. But I mean, Seattle had him when he came in with Seattle, his first years with Seattle before they moved to OKC, he was a 2. Okay. He's not a 2. He's not a 3 anymore. He's a 4. And so I honestly think the fit with Jovic is easier on offense because I can see Niko working out on the perimeter, making plays from the high post. I feel like it fits better. And I think Ware coming off the bench to play 30 minutes, okay, with Bam or with KD, you have your 3-man 4-5 rotation. I think it's perfect. Do I think they're going to get away with getting KD without giving up either of them? No, I don't. But it's a good question, though, anyway, just because it's going to irritate Sean. I'm going to get a bunch of texts tomorrow. Anyway, well, you know what I'll have to do? I'm going to have to send him some money. That's what I'll have to do. I have to go to Cash App and send him some money. That'll get him off my back. Okay, now I'm holding myself to it. We all have Cash App on 5 on the Floor. Why? Because it's the easiest way to send money, cleanest way to send money. Speaking of that, making money moves should be easy, and that's why there's Cash App. It's fast, safe, and honestly, way more personalized than the other apps out there. No extra hoops to jump through, no extra stress. All the tools right there to help you cash in. Plus, sending money with Cash App actually feels safe. They look out for you if something seems sketchy. They see you might be sending money to a potential scammer. They'll warn you, make you think twice before you hit send. It's like having a personal bodyguard for your cash. You can even spice up payments with custom text, stamps, and backgrounds, because why should paying your friend for brunch or to get him to stop texting you about positions be so boring? Not positions. If for whatever reason you don't have Cash App already, just download it from your phone's app store. Sign up, use the code on the floor in your profile, send $5 for a friend. Get $10 just for getting started. Again, on the floor, download Cash App, sign up, use that code on the floor, send $5 for a friend within 14 days. $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Okay, now we're going to go to the next part of this. Niko Jovic is only 22. He could be in this year's draft. If he was in this year's draft with his skill set, let's say, again, we haven't seen him in 2 years in the pros, but let's say we hadn't, but we'd seen signs of some of what has emerged, okay? And let's say that he had the body now, okay, that he didn't have then. I just think just to be fair, because if he was coming in at 22, he would have probably put weight on his frame. Maybe not like he did with the Heat, but he would have put weight on his frame. Let's say he played another couple years internationally and came in like this. Would he go higher than 20th in this draft, Adel?
In this particular draft, I think he goes ahead of Noah Osengay, who I have at 20 at the moment. I think he's a better prospect than Noah. He's playing in Germany right now. He's got some physical limitations. So to answer that's yes. To mention, to bring this full circle back to what we talked about earlier, I think Danny Wolf is actually a great 1-for-1 replacement of what Jovic would be. If you were not going to extend him and you're going to keep the pick and you had to ship him off for Durant, I think Danny Wolf's a perfect fit. Now, with that being said, Danny Wolf's draft age is 21. He's only 1 year younger than Niko Jovic.
So it's a good comparison. You're saying he'd be a good fit.
But doesn't he project mainly as a big versus Jovic being more of a wing?
Well, yes and no. So there's some misconceptions, I think, personally, around what Jovic can do in a half-court setting in terms of facilitating and ball handling chops.
Gotcha.
I think Danny Wolf can actually do that better. And he's bigger. And he
as a bigger
better.
Player. Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the comp you said is Olynyk, right?
I think he's a better prospect than what Olynyk was.
You hate comps. I'm sorry.
No, but that's a good one. I think
you did mention his name, and Jovic came up in relative to Olynyk before because Bam played really well next to Olynyk.
Yes.
Like that combination, for all he needs a center next to him.
Yeah.
KO and Bam's numbers when they played together were really good. Like really good. Like that was
Other
one of
than
their best
PJ,
two-man
was the best that they had found.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And so the whole thing was, well, Jovic comes in and okay, now we have a new KO style player. I know KO's got all the herky-jerky moves and all that kind of stuff. I saw KO play. I was in Orlando, and I wish they still had Orlando Summer League. That was so nice. You just drove up 3 hours. Everybody was at the Marriott. You ran into everybody in the lobby. Now you got to go out to Vegas. Is what it is. But anyway, well, you always had to go to Vegas, but not for everything. So, and then Utah and Sacramento. Why do they have summer leagues in Utah and Sacramento instead of Orlando? Anyway, point is, okay, I saw KO's first summer league, and I've never seen a player that good. He was dominant. Like Boston, they were putting him up in the rafters at that point. You couldn't. Him and second-year Andre Drummond. I've never seen two summer league players better than that. But the thing is that we made this comp before, and I think it's interesting when you say, well, Jovic now. So if that's the case, who would have more value to the Heat, Greg? The 20th pick or Niko? I guess you get to pick the player you want at the 20. So Jovic, we're saying you're boxed into that particular player. But is it just about Niko's extension? Or from what you've seen at Niko, are they going to get a player at 20 as good as Jovic potentially could be?
I mean, it's possible. And I know that I think that overall Adel is likely a little higher on this draft than I am. So like, just take both of our bias for what that is. It doesn't mean either of us are wrong or right. I think that there probably is less likely a chance that they find a player as talented as Niko is at 20. But the whole part of this is that, one, I can't get over the extension. And so we're just going to have to live with that, because that is like within, basically the next calendar year as we're recording this, they need to make that decision. And so he becomes a much more costly player. And so percent to salary cap, a rookie at 20, I could probably talk myself into that. It's a shame, because I think Niko is a project that they thought if that pick hit, it could really be transcendent to a lot of the things that they were trying to do. And that puts a lot of pressure on him. But I don't know that it's going to realize itself in Miami, frankly. And so that's why I guess I'll say that the 20th pick for salary purposes primarily, but also probably a little bit also the fact that they can pick and choose the player that maybe fits what they're envisioning going forward now in a way that they, can't with Niko, because he is who he is on that roster right now.
Okay, so Adel, before we close on this, you've mentioned Thomas Sorber a lot of times here. Do you think Thomas Sorber's you were not high on Ware last year? I mean, is that fair? I mean, you had questions. You had questions about Motor, right? Like
Motor was my primary concern. I said he was a top 10 talent, but I don't think Motor is something you can consistently iron out. That was my opinion, and I still kind of stick by that, even though it was a little bit better, and it kind of wore as the season went on.
Yeah.
But he is a top 10 talent. Like that guy, you put him out there and give him minutes, he's a walking double-double on his talent alone. Like that's just his talent.
Well, the question is, will it contribute to winning? Because Whiteside was a walking double-double too, right?
Exactly my point. Yes.
I kind of remember
a walking, talking to fish double-double. Yes.
I was higher on Yves Missi that the Pelicans selected at 19.
Yeah. Just to keep Adel honest, I think Kel'el Ware was actually maybe on his do not draft list. Maybe. No,
again, guys with motor concerns, I have a tough time with that.
And usually the Heat do too, so I get it.
Yeah, and I think that's why they kept emphasizing that he was like a sponge when he picked up material, which that's mental endurance, okay? So I give him credit for that. What I want to see it translate into now is physical endurance, because we saw – and this happens with a lot of young guys, again, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here, but it's only because he came in with this question. We saw it in Summer League where he played a ton of games, and by the last 2 games, he was spent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That last game, he was bad, and he had been good throughout the entire
playoffs. He was spent.
The playoffs, he was spent, and Spo was yanking him off the court. So this is where this stuff comes up and where people sort of get the Beasley-Whiteside heebie-jeebies. But, like, I think he proved – to care more about team
totally
than Whiteside did. So that's to me. Well, but I think sometimes it gets conflated, and so I think it's important that he did that and show that he cared about winning. One of the things I liked about Ware last year, and I've said this on many podcasts, he didn't gum up the offense. He got the ball out. Okay, ball would go to him, and he'd continue to run the set. Now that's something Whiteside did not do. Okay, so again, I'm trying to be careful here, just because there are some concerns. Not to say there's same concerns as Hassan, who, by the way, was a freakish athlete in his own right, would have been drafted higher than the second round. But, and I'm going to try to be fair here too. Kel'el processes faster than Hassan did. Okay, because that was the big question about Hassan. So I'm not trying to make it about that. Okay, and when Beasley is one of the most gifted offensive players who has ever lived, he just didn't give a shit about the other side of it. That was basically it. Okay,
and can't be coached really.
Couldn't really be coached, and that's why. But again, we're talking about these kind of players because they're questions, but the questions are a little bit different. I want to be careful on that. But let me ask you this question, then, and we'll close on this. Okay, so Thomas Sorber, who you've mentioned as one of their possible bigs, more of a traditional big than Danny Wolf is, maybe.
Yes.
Right now, if you had both current Kel'el, how old is Sorber?
Sorber's 19. He's going to be 20, I believe, at the draft.
Okay. And Ware is 20. If you had them both side by side right now, 20th pick comes up. You've got Kel'el Ware, from what you knew of him last year, and you got Thomas Sorber. Who are you taking?
If it's both the 20th pick and it's the same roster they have right now.
Yes. Without Ware.
Well,
right, because I'm assuming Ware is traded in this scenario.
Okay, so if Ware's traded, I'm taking Sorber, but here's why, right? Ware's the more freak athlete. Mm-hmm. Sorber has an amazing wing. His wingspan is longer than Kel'el Ware's wingspan, but he has no motor concerns. Like, I've seen that game in and game out in college. I've seen the motor. I've seen the hustle. I've seen the basketball IQ. I've seen all that stuff. Ware's little bit better athlete, but I've seen all the other higher level stuff. And I just looked, his draft age is actually going to be 19 and a half.
Could Sorber switch next to Bam? Like, could they switch and figure that out, and that would be okay?
Eventually, yes. He has the feet to do it, but he's going to need to develop it a little bit more. Because in the second half of the season at Georgetown, he started doing that before he got injured. Just like he started shooting the 3-ball before he got injured. So you saw a little bit of it, but I haven't seen enough of it. He's going to have to develop it a little bit more. But he plays in space better than Ware, in my opinion.
So, but I just would consider this. If we're thinking Kel'el Ware is going to start next season next to Bam Adebayo, but Sorber would be a work in progress next to Bam, I think that then if the Heat probably value Ware over the 20th pick. The Heat do. I'm not saying we all do on this show.
No, like, I wouldn't trade Ware right now. Like, if I had the option, like the way this was initially set up, I'm trading Jovic before I trade Ware.
Right.
Because it's harder to replicate what Ware does than what Jovic does.
And also, Ware is 1 year further from an extension.
And also the contract. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But right now, the fit, I still think the fit with Bam is better, but I know most people are not going to agree with me on that. And I understand the defensive part of this. I'm concerned. I guess I'm concerned about something that really isn't relevant to the Heat, because I think Niko's going to be a really good player. I just don't think it's going to be here. That's kind of where I've come down to on it, and it's so antithetical to the way that things usually are with them, where the player is better in Miami. But there's a certain type of player that's better in Miami. It's like the gritty, the Magruders, the Tyler Johnsons, the get on the floor, the lose your teeth, the Haywood Highsmith, and then like Strus, who has that, and all the rest of this. But when you got like a really skilled guy who needs to play in space, like I don't know that necessarily fits. It's what they should
get to Golden State.
Hold on, wait. Right. Let me pose a question back at you, Ethan, if I may.
Okay.
Let me just pose one quick question back at you.
Right.
If he's this great as you're trying to make him out to be as a player in space and creator and all these things.
Well, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying they don't. I think there's potential for it, and I just don't think they. I don't think that they're inclined to try to tap into it.
But he's had his opportunities to do that at points in every game, in every
he
part
played
of
with
the
Terry
season.
Rozier. His minutes were tied to Terry Rozier's.
He's also played minutes without Terry. And my point is, he's had opportunities.
Here's the question: does he fit next to Devin Booker?
Yes.
There's the question.
I knew you were going to ask that question. All right, thanks, Greg, Adele. Appreciate both of you. We'll continue to have these debates. Sean, I'm sending you money so you don't get on me about the position thing. I promise. Be on Cash App.
Thank you for
all right. Thanks again to our sponsors, Cash App. Use the code on the floor. Prize Picks. Use the code FIVE. Game 7 NBA Finals coming up. We'll be on playback for that one, I believe. And then we'll try to sum up the NBA season after that. Then 2 days of draft prep, Durant prep. I don't know, other kinds of prep. DeRozan prep. By the way, we got a nickname for DeRozan now. Alex accidentally stumbled on it. It's Default DeRozan because that's where they always default to. They can't find something else. Anyway, have a good day.
On the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.